Well, football might be worth it. Is Marvel's latest worth it? We're gonna find out. Moon Knight.
Segue.
Moon Knight on Disney Plus. From Marvel, episodes 3 and 4. Renato, I know that thank you very much for being in chat. I know you haven't seen these yet, so I am sorry, but we will be getting spoilery about
Before we
Moon
get
Knight.
spoilery, can
Mhm.
I share some nerdy fun? I definitely was like getting dressed for tonight's show because I've been doing housework all day, not because I haven't been dressed all day. But I
Oh,
was
you just
like,
got everybody's hopes up. They're all like,
I
"Whoa,
know,
Andrew's in
right?
in the nude all
Hey,
day."
what does Andrea do?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was like putting on like actual decent clothes instead of my like paint covered, crappy
Mhm.
stuff. And I found my necklace that I got in Greece, but it's my name in Egyptian hieroglyphics.
Oh, cool.
And I was just like, blast from the past. Like I haven't seen this thing since like ninth grade when I went on this trip.
That's fun. That's really
So I
cool.
decided to put it on and wear it tonight. And I mean, I don't know for certain that it's my name in hieroglyphics. It could be anything because I don't read
It just says
hieroglyphics. I'm not
asshole.
Stephen
Just
Grant
like,
from this Moon Knight series,
yeah.
but pretend it says my name.
I
And there you
The
mean,
go.
soup.
Google
The
Translate it.
soup.
Yeah, Google Translate. Do they do hieroglyphics yet? I don't know.
They should, man. So
Mhm.
yeah, so it says my name, and then on the back, I think it has a blessing from Nefertiti.
Oh,
At least, again,
wow.
that's what I was told.
Right.
It
Yeah.
also says made in China.
It does. There it is. No.
Oh, I was like, oh my god, does it actually say?
No, it doesn't.
Nice. Yeah.
So yeah, so
Well, very
I
cool.
decided to wear that, and we'll be obviously wearing it when we discuss the final episodes of Moon Knight. So I was like,
Perfect.
hey, why not? Perfect.
Yeah. Well, we are with episode 3. We're halfway through the series now, the mini series. We had you on last time, Tony, to talk about Moon Knight as well as it started. So, how is the series progressing for you as we enter the 3rd and 4th episode?
Um, you know, I watched them back to back. Actually, I
Mhm.
watched them back to back today, not knowing that you were gonna have me on the podcast. So it was actually a nice little surprise for me.
Perfect.
Mhm.
Because I was trying to catch up, and this is one of the rare occasions where I get to say "I told you so" to John, and I'm very excited about that.
Okay, yeah. I
Lay
mean,
it on him,
you're
Tony.
right. Rare occasion, you're right. I'm trying to think of when else that would be that you have told me that, but I'm interested. I'm
The,
intrigued.
Lay it on
I don't
him.
know where you're
Say it.
going.
the other time was the argument we had of John Deere over uh one of your other tractors that you like, and I said John Deere was the best, and it's just
Yeah, you're just trying to bother me again. That's not even remotely true. Okay.
uh, but
All right.
no. So we were. I went into one of the episodes. If we're gonna talk like in order, I guess in episode 3, it picked up like really quick. Like they really rushed into that episode. I
Mhm.
actually wrote down. I was confused that I had somehow missed something. Like when they all of a sudden he's running across the rooftops and he jumps and he's
Mhm.
like, I was gonna talk to that guy, and I'm like, wait, were you, or are you just here? Like, what is going on? And so I like that they kind of had this like Jason Bourne type, Mission Impossible type running across the rooftop scenes, which I think is getting a little overdone in Hollywood now, but it's
Um,
gotta have it.
no, it
And
doesn't.
then
I
so
think
that
I think
was
we all can like generally agree on that statement.
yeah,
Like it's a little
overdone.
overdone. I was actually less disappointed in the running on the rooftops than I was in the following like he runs over a truck while somebody else is running in a street. And I'm like, that is not the quickest way to get to
Did,
somebody.
did
Like,
you a
why do
hundred
people run over vehicles? Don't do that.
did you see where they swapped from what's is it Oscar Isaac? Is that the main
Yeah.
actor?
Mhm.
where they swap from his stunt double to him.
Yeah.
Oh,
It
really?
it was
Oh,
so
no.
obvious. Yeah,
Yeah.
I felt bad. It was right at the truck scene where all of a sudden he's like behind the truck, and then
Yeah.
Oscar Isaac runs up from behind
Yeah.
the truck.
The whole thing was, like, so unnecessary, and then, yeah, then we get, like, "Here's our stunt double. Here's Oscar Isaac getting up."
Yep.
Oh, man.
So I thought that was kind of
So,
cool.
yeah.
I did like that they had because the third episode, they kind of introduce the other gods. They're like, yep, nope,
Mhm.
there are other gods, and they
There's a
do
pantheon.
exist, and they have the avatar with the pantheons, and everyone kind of comes and speaks. And then what I was kind of hoping they would do more is I was hoping that the characters or the people that they chose to be their avatars would be like reflective of what that god would be like in 21st century, right? So you
Ooh.
had Osiris. They had the Osiris, who's obviously the god of the dead, but it was just like a normal guy. And I'm like, oh, I wish he was like an Undertaker. Like I wish it was just like a guy you could tell was an Undertaker. It would have been the
Sure.
avatar of Osiris.
I mean, I kind of feel like they did that, but, like, so lightly.
Yes,
Do you know what I
it
mean? Like, it
was.
was so lightly that it's almost not, but sort of. It's
Hmm.
very half-baked.
It
Like,
is.
I mean, because like, you talk about it, like, Osiris's avatar, was, like, dress up in a suit, sort of, maybe, kind of, you
Was that
know.
Osiris or was that Horus?
Was that Horus?
Because Horus is like, isn't he like the main?
It would be Raw.
Well, yeah, but I don't think they mentioned Ra having
They
No.
his.
don't.
Yeah, I
Which,
think
so
Ra is
it's
Stephen
kind of
Amell.
unclear whether, like, the Ennead, who, I don't know, to me anyway. I mean, I felt like I studied Egyptian mythology, but I was sort of like, so it was like Ennead top tier, or like second top tier? Like, are we just excluding Ra?
Yeah.
Like I mean, their pantheon is mind-blowingly big.
Exactly.
Oh,
Um,
right.
so I kind of like that. Um, wasn't really much of a trial as it was just oh, we just don't believe the I'm never gonna pronounce his name right. The Moon Knights.
Khonshu?
Khonshu, thank you, Khonshu.
Mhm.
We don't believe Khonshu because we just don't like
We just
him.
don't like them.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
everything he
It was
says is
such a
BS.
farce.
Yeah. And then I did read your notes, Andrea. I agree. Ethan Hawke crushing it. But my God, is his character, you just want to punch him in the
In
face
the
every time he
face!
talks.
My
Every
God!
time. Just so
Ugh.
condescending and so like, mm, mm.
Let me tell
I
you
know a
about
thing or two.
you.
Yeah.
Like,
I used to
ugh.
be Khonshu's avatar. You don't know. It's like, oh God,
He's
come
just so
on, man.
smug and blah. Like, yeah.
It's just, so I like that dialogue. What I really liked was that there was a point in this third episode where it was very switched from the first couple episodes where like you were following in Steven, so you would get these laps
Mhm.
in time from Steven's perspective. Well, all of a sudden Steven would be like, where am I? Like I don't know how I got here, and you wouldn't be able to see Mark's part. And what I
Mhm.
really like that they did in this episode is they switched that where you're following Mark, and all of a sudden Mark has a lapse, and then he comes
Mhm.
back, and he's like, "What just happened?" And you're like,
Mhm.
because then Steven took over, right? You
Yep.
don't get to see that, so it's like you don't get to see the full part of it in certain areas, and I really like how they kind of switch that a little bit to kind of draw attention to who's now the main character that you're trying
Mhm.
to focus on.
Mhm. Yeah, I've always liked that, like, very just disorienting transition, because I imagine for somebody who does have multiple personalities, it is very disorienting. I can't imagine that it's just like some sort of, like, one than the other smooth thing. I'm sure that, not speaking as somebody who knows, but I would guess that it's not just this, like, easy thing that happens. I don't know what it would be like, but I can't imagine that it would just be like, sure, I'm one, now I'm two. So I've always liked that sort of off-putting, off-kilter sense that we get as we're kind of transitioning from Mark to Steven, or Steven to Mark.
Sure.
I like I think it's Layla. Is that
Mhm.
the
Yep.
Layla?
Yep.
I think she's kind of playing this role of like She reminds me of a like Indiana Jones type character. Like she knows what she's doing. She's kind of got her feet under her. She's daughter to an archaeologist. She's knowledgeable. She can
I
kind of play this role.
love, yeah, I love the whole scene where she's like creating the fake passport, and it's just so like routine, like her and this chick. You know, I don't know who she is, but they have such great like rapport. I did not need to know her backstory to feel that they had a backstory. Like
Mhm.
everything about this was just so like we've done this how many times together. Like I'm handing you your glasses, you're handing me the paper. Like it's just this like easy back and forth was such like a light kind of fun moment to like watch them do that, and we got to like learn about her character at the same time. Like those are the kinds of things I like, where we get to learn about a backstory and it doesn't feel like, to me anyway, it didn't feel like shoehorned in or like awkward exposition. It was just like fun, lighthearted break from all of this, plus I got some info. Thank you.
Yep. The one part, I think it fell apart. There was one scene or one kind of section of scenes where I was like, what are we doing here, guys? Is they're taking this boat ride, and you get a really good back and forth between Oscar, or I should say, Steven and Kayla, or Layla, um, on this
I
boat.
think that might have been Mark.
I think it is Mark yet.
Oh, it is Mark. Yes, I'm sorry. It is. It's Mark. Steven is. Oh yeah, he comes in halfway through on the next
Yeah.
scene.
Yeah, to
So
help
Yes,
with
yes.
the stuff.
to help with it. So
Help.
they're taking this boat ride. You get the really good back and forth where you kind of learn. You're trying to figure out, okay, what is this backstory that they have? Like what actually
Yeah.
happened here that they don't that he had to run off and like leave this marriage type of situation. And then and then you get to this dude who has this massive house that you get to with a boat, and then he's doing horse stuff with a museum that's outside, where the museum pieces are in these glass
Domes, yeah.
pyramids. And I'm like, so he just comes up, he's like, hey, I want to see your like really old sarcophagus. He's like, yeah, dude, it's in this glass pyramid, check it out. It's like, what why do you just have this? Who are you and why do I care?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a little contrived. I felt like there was like a pretense and a backstory that got really abandoned super quickly. Like what was
Yeah.
the point of us being like, we need to get our story straight? You're my husband, like Fino Estrada or something.
Yeah.
And then they just like 2 seconds in, they were like, cool, let's just not even do that anymore. Like what?
Mark, no. Oh wait, what? It's not my backstory.
Right. It was so like very like, let's make an attempt at like spy-esque and have it unravel just like immediately, and let's abandon that.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
that whole like side journey was a bit like, this is convenient.
Yeah, when you say contrived, I see that. It reminds me of kind of a double A video game. They sort of wrote, you need to get from one point to the next. Here's your next thing you got to examine for clues, and then have a
Right.
little mini boss fight. I'm glad you guys said a bunch of positive things, so I could like say all the negative things. I wanted to like, there was one person from GameStop that, or not GameStop, GameSpot, Tamer, that said he describes these so far in the best way possible. It says 3 episodes into Moon Knight and it is aggressively okay. That is exactly this show. It is aggressively okay. I feel like cinematography is pretty not interesting. Action scenes are pretty not good. I really am. I don't know if they want me to like Moon Knight, because I don't. None of the personalities. Marcus like just left his wife, didn't explain anything,
Mhm.
didn't, it's like, I can't just tell you that Khonshu, wants you as a replacement, and I like don't want that for you, because that would be terrible. And like have this discussion. Do you love each other or not? Steven is just a dork. He's such a dork. And then doing the whole thing where Layla's going to fall for this sucker. Like, who am I supposed to like in this show? Layla's the only one that seems competent. It's the only one that can do anything. It seems like they did a whole like big thing where rewinding the night sky, and that's what destroyed Khonshu using, like they're going to seal him now. Someone brought up a really good point. There's like an iPhone app for that. Like you can point it at the sky and rewind this night sky thousands of years. So your deity here, real smart, right? Just like is now imprisoned in a little statue for all time because of this. And then all that, like, I'm not impressed by the other avatars for the Egyptian gods. They just let Ethan Hawke in there, and then they seal Khonshu, and they just let him hold on to the statue and stuff. It's like, who is this guy? Why are you letting him in here? Why are you believing him?
Because he's Amit's avatar.
But he doesn't actually. He's not actually, though, is he?
Yeah, because that's what he's telling his followers in the dig site. He's like, I'm about to be called away, so just like chill for a sec. Don't stop digging. So like, and then they're explaining when they're in the Great Pyramid, they're like, well, when we convene like this, a way appears for every avatar. So I don't know if like Amit being sealed away is supposed to have an avatar, or if that's like a logic gap that the show just doesn't really address.
I think they're bringing him in because the charges are being called against him. If he was an avatar, they would speak to Amit. They don't.
But she's imprisoned.
Right. So how can he be the avatar? He's trying to release her.
But that's what I think is like the logic gap there.
Maybe, or the logic gap is that he used to be Khonshu's avatar. So he's aware
so he can,
of this.
Yeah, he already knows. Yeah. I get it.
I think it's like, you've got Khonshu coming in here saying, hey, this person is about to do all this terrible stuff and release this goddess on
right,
the
but
world.
Like really would they open that up to like any Joe off the street that Khonshu was like?
That's the problem. No, they wouldn't.
But that's what I'm saying is like there's too many logic gaps here of like why exactly this works. And I think it's a fault of the show that they do a lot of stuff because it works to get them to the next point.
Yeah, exactly.
Which like this whole trial was basically a way for Mark Steven to meet Hathor's avatar to tell them about the sarcophagus. So then they could go to the sarcophagus, which could tell them like the next, thing. But we already talked about like that was just like an awkward AF detour because that guy was just like this weird like, I'm super rich, so I'm gonna do like medieval horseplay and just like be shirtless in my yard as you come, and you know what I mean, like
with hundreds of people watching. I think
right,
it was like a festival or something going on in his backyard.
Super weird. Some like it just reminded me of some sort of like medieval jousting tournament. But he's shirtless because why not? Because I'm showing off and I'm impressive right now. Come look at my glass pyramids. Yeah, so this show does a lot of things that don't very smoothly get you from A to B. So you sort of feel that, I think, as an audience member, where you feel like, why would this happen? Because watching the whole like trial and like Khonshu bringing his evidence, he doesn't even get to talk at all.
Right.
And Ethan Hawke just says like a few things that are like double talk, like, ooh, what if? Think about this. Like, did I really do X? And everybody's like, cool, yeah, obviously. It's the lamest double speak I've ever heard. And it just confuses them so easily that they're like, cool.
And why can't Khonshu just speak through Mark? Why does he have to do like the thing?
Well, he does.
He does speak through Mark.
Everybody, avatars can just like talk.
Well,
that's
I mean, maybe because
I
was gonna say like they've been avatars longer.
And they did say that, by the way.
They do. They give you that information so quickly.
They just let it happen. They let it in, and Mark's fighting it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, it's gonna be weird. Just let it happen.
Yeah.
And he's like, what?
It was awkward.
It was very awkward.
Just let him have his, let him speak here for a moment.
There was a point in that episode though when I was watching it, and when I saw it, I was like, John's gonna hate that. And it was during the fight scene where Moon Knight comes out and he's doing all the cool Moon Knight stuff where he's like, "Pacha!" and he's like throwing stuff and he's like, throwing the batarangs, because let's face it, they're batarangs. That's
Mhm.
not beat around the bush. And he's throwing these batarangs at people, and then like getting stabbed with the spears, and all of a sudden Steven takes over, and Steven's like, "No, I got this," and then he just gets a spear right in the chest, and he's like, "Mark, come back!" And then it like turns back into like the regular Moon Knight. I was like, oh, I
Yeah.
bet John's gonna just hate that.
This is a character that, like, admittedly, I don't know a lot about, but it's always put to me as like kind of the Batman, as sort of a Batman figure, and then they try to add some depth to him by giving him multiple personalities. So
Well, isn't this so I also don't know that much about Moon Knight, but I remember a bit from talking with Pete about it. Isn't this part of the comics? Like there is a section of his story where he does have multiple
yeah,
personalities.
yeah. So
Okay, all
that's
right. So this isn't like a pure invention of like this show.
no, no. So
Okay.
that's what I mean. Like, so Moon Knight, always was like, um, super wealthy guy that becomes Moon Knight and fights a bunch of monsters and stuff. Very Batman-esque, but then kind of try to reinvent him over time, and they went
Hmm.
with the multiple personality kind of thing.
Sure.
And so they decided to take that route for the show. But the book being kind of like a Batman was not particularly silly. And I feel like this show, I was hoping it wouldn't be as silly. And based again on the first episode, I thought maybe it wasn't going to be. But
Hmm.
now with the bumbling idiot that is Steven,
Hmm.
we always have that again. I wrote in the comments, does Steven just want to die? Like, I
Hmm.
understand you don't want to be trapped, whatever, but would you rather just die, I guess? Because
Yeah.
constantly it's like, do something or give up to Mark. Okay.
Hmm.
Like, what are you doing here? Like, you don't
Yeah.
understand the risk you're in here and the situation? Do you actually care about this woman, or do you just gonna die here?
Right. When he was like, I bet I could do this. It's just like muscle memory. And I was just like,
Yeah.
oh, honey.
Not really how that works.
Whoa. That's so not how that works. Um, I wanna circle back around to a couple points that you made, John. Because I I did, after watching these two episodes, sort of feel like Disney, somebody, producers, who's ever like making Moon Knight. I don't really know, the exact production team. Apologies. But they sort of felt like they were half trying to make Layla the main character, because I agree, she's like the person that seems competent. She's got interesting stories going on. I still don't know exactly who Mark and Steven are, and I
Mhm.
don't have like a strong sense of them all the time. Whereas like I have a strong sense of like who Layla is. She's got interesting backstory coming out in these two episodes. Um so yeah, like
Yep.
there's a focus on her in these two that almost seems towards like with the aim of accidentally making her the main character.
Yep. And I don't know that it's an accident. I mean, like, look, a lot of
And
these
yeah,
other
I don't know
shows,
it either.
they're trying to transition, like potentially with Hawkeye, they're trying to transition the
Sure.
Hawkeye thing to, uh, what's her name right now?
Haley Steinfeld?
Yeah, but
Oh yeah.
Katie,
Yeah.
uh,
Kate
Kate Bishop.
Bishop.
Yeah.
This would be
But then,
interesting choice though, because like we're just getting Moon Knight and then
exactly.
transition.
Exactly. And I know a lot of people were upset that Kate Bishop got so much screen time in Hawkeye. But my thing with Hawkeye was that
He's
it's
had
a
some
but
screen time.
but yeah, it's potentially a transitioning thing. And Hawkeye is a mentor in this. Like, he
Mhm.
he is a mentor to lead Kate Bishop so she can hopefully be successful going forward in the future.
Well, and it feels like he's
Moon
already done his mentor thing too. Like he was Natasha's mentor
Yeah, in a way to kinda like,
in a
with
way.
regular life and, like, being, hey, not you don't have to be an assassin kinda thing. Yeah,
Right, right. Yeah,
a
no, I
talk
don't mean he
to the
like
real
taught her to fight
world.
or anything.
Yeah,
Like
right.
you know what I'm saying.
Yep. So, in Moon Knight now, this is a brand new character, though, and so, yeah, there's where there's no transition to happen. I feel like we should be interested in Moon Knight,
Right.
who he is, and be rooting for him and have him do cool things. And instead, we're not most of the
Yeah.
time. And even again, just the way it's shot, like Disney apparently isn't putting enough money into these things because we're getting the screenshot we showed just a second ago with Ethan Hawke standing in the desert. It just made me think of like, go watch Raiders of the Lost Ark or Lawrence of Arabia, like
Or The
in
Mummy with
yeah,
Brendan
or the
Fraser.
The
Mummy.
Mummy.
These things that would like feel
I want to get back
grand
to
and
The Mummy.
sweeping, and like someone knows what they're doing that's behind the camera. And I think people are just getting so used to seeing this cookie cutter stuff that is just okay, and they're just
Be
accepting it. And like
lazy.
and they go out and watch a real fucking movie and like see how it's done. And I just is I'm getting really bored, guys. I'm really bored. So
I can get that. There is some cinematography that feels a bit like hit generic shot, close up face, cool background, rooftop running. Like
yeah, rooftop
I
running.
get it.
It's just
I get it.
To me, oh, I'm sorry, Andrea.
No, it's okay. I just wanted to go back to one of John's points. So if you got something to say about especially cinematography, go for it.
No, I was gonna say that there was a jarring moment because I remember I brought up last episode where Ethan Hawke was like walking through the village and there were people like, oh, and I'm like, that's not characters
Yeah.
reaching. That's extras
That's
trying to touch
Ethan
Ethan
Hawke.
Hawke. Yeah. And there was this moment in this episode where he is like the scarab and he goes, we found the tomb, and he turns and there's a random guy and they have this like bizarre super happy exchange where the guy is like he's like super excited and I'm like, who is this guy and why is Ethan Hawke spending so much time with him? It's just like super jarring.
Just really excited to touch Ethan Hawke.
This is just an extra. Really excited for that 5 minutes where he gets to pretend to be really excited about something with Ethan Hawke.
what were you about to say before, Andrea?
So I was just gonna go back to the point that you made about Layla and the frustration you felt with her falling for Steven, as well as Mark. I on the screen, I am not in love with this idea. And she actually doesn't seem to be either after being like, oh, you smell like him, and like,
This is
being sort
weird.
of into him. He kisses her and she's just like, whoa, like all over her face is just like, this is so uncomfortable. Which made me think of like a really interesting point of like, I don't know how this would work. Like for people who might, in real life or on screen or anything, this kind of just brings up like an interesting dilemma of like, how would it work if you were in love with somebody who has multiple personalities? Like, do you acknowledge that? Do you set rules? Do you set boundaries? Like, don't talk to my other personalities. Like, if you do, is that like some sort of betrayal? I mean, how do you negotiate, like, especially if you're like married to one, like, how would you know all the time, if they've switched over to a new personality? Like, is it a betrayal if you kiss them? If you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. It was so interesting. And I thought that moment was interesting because, she was so into it and she was so like, oh, you're just like him, and oh, you're nerdy and, into archaeology. And that's something Mark and I didn't share. But then the second he kissed her, it was like, nope, 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 nope. This isn't the thing that I wanted.
Well, didn't she? I mean, remember me wrong? Didn't she kiss him?
She leans in, and then he like goes the rest of the way to do it.
Okay.
90-10.
See,
Thanks, Hitch.
I'm so glad you got that reference.
No, that reference was definitely used on me by one of my boyfriends. Like, oh, we should see if that whole 90-10 thing works.
The whole
So
100.
never go the whole 100. Damn. Um so yeah, so he does kiss her. I just also watched this episode like yesterday night, so I am
And
I am
but
fresh on that.
I
So
read it
yeah,
as she was kinda giddy. She got kinda giddy from this.
There
her
was
her
a will
face,
they, won't they?
And then they went
yeah.
down in the pit, and then he says, like, "Oh, that's beautiful," or something. She thinks he's talking about her, and then it's about this the tomb, you know?
Yeah, but I think like intellectually there's something for her about like, you know, the regard because Mark, she's felt abandoned by Mark, but like when they actually physically kissed, I did not get that read
Okay.
of this was, and which I think would make sense because I think there's a way that she could sort of like fool herself in talking to Steven
Yeah,
that Mark's still somehow present
right.
part, you know, but like the physical kiss was like a sign of like that's
Oh,
not my
I'm reading it
experience.
differently, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I
Yeah.
hope they don't have it. My biggest
So it's
issue
just
with
interesting intellectually.
shows and movies that come out nowadays is that you don't have to have a romantic relationship or romantic interest or romantic anything between the characters. It doesn't need to exist
Mhm.
for it to be a good show, to have chemistry between these two characters. It doesn't need to be there. So don't force it. Don't make it weird.
Right. Well, and that's why I think like I would actually be okay if they did that and then it was just like nope.
It didn't
Like
work.
because I just said like they're obviously an amazing intellectual team and I'm so on board with that and they seem on board with that. But like I'm kind of cool that like the kiss happened and if I'm reading it correctly and she was kind of, just like, "Oh, it's awkward. It's not what I expected." Great. Let's end that there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I agree you don't have to have a romance, don't force it if it's not there. But people, I think, generally gonna want to write that because it's so satisfying. Like when you have when we go back to The Mummy, like it has all the important elements, that
Mhm.
you get from like Raiders of Lost Ark. It's the same thing. Like you have interesting lore, you build stakes, you have personal trauma and like
Mhm.
conflict between your two main people, you have a love story, and like all those things form a really satisfying thing for an audience member. So maybe it's not unexpected, it's not
Mhm.
original, but it's really satisfying. And so I don't fault anyone for making having a love interest a lot, and having a relationship like that. Just you have to write the story for that so it makes sense with the characters. You
Mhm.
can't just like shoehorn it.
Has chat seen The Mummy?
Renato is not here right now
No.
because he's not seen Moon Knight yet. So
Oh, so that's. I was gonna
yeah.
tell him if he hadn't seen The Mummy, drop everything and go see it
Oh, so
right now.
good. So
Just
good.
watch it.
Well, we should get into episode 4 yet here now too.
Yeah, I think it's too late.
Yeah, we're moving into like the further
Yes.
into the tombs here, on the path. Andrea, I think you got some good comments. You're talking, speaking of the mummy, right?
Yes, yes. So we get a little like mummy action in episode 4, and I dug it. It was creepy AF.
It
Like
was.
I gave like this episode really like gave me some hope. I know we've been talking about Disney like removing gore, removing violence, and like shying away from that kind of stuff. And then this episode kind of got into like a little twisty, creepy, like there was like jump scare monster, but also like they're in this tomb and they've got like a stone table which clearly it was used to perform like mummification and there's like fresh blood dripping off and like the canopic jars for all the internal organs like dug it
Hmm.
like this whole vibe I was very happy with
Oh yeah,
Yep.
and
that was
it was like mummy-esque but also like even creepier.
the I want the I told you so to John, where I'm like, yeah, if they put that in there, they are definitely not shying away from
Sure.
the we have to make everything happy sunshine unicorn farts.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
very much appreciated this.
and from the first episode, like I say, we got blood, so we saw that. We had some creepy moments with the lights going in the hallways and stuff like that. So it's not, that's the kind of thing that gave me hope in the first episode. It just has to be punctuated by so much silly as well. And I agree, like this scene was a lot better. Again, Layla's the only one that does anything. Steven is just an idiot, and just runs
But he
away. All
squished
the
it.
Yeah,
He
It's squished
squished
it.
it.
all I mean, literally all the cool stuff. She's hiding and then she runs. She has to like walk precariously across the thing, very Uncharted style, while things
Mhm.
are falling. And then the thing comes and grabs her and takes her away, but she like fights it off and and wins, it's like the whole
Yeah.
thing, So this is like Steven has nothing in this. He goes to the tomb and digs down the throat. Oh, it's funny, isn't it gross to like go down the throat of the mummy? Um, that's
He
it.
does. I mean, it's hard because I like I said in my notes, I half love this and half hate this. Like I love that this bumbling dork is getting to live out his dream, like his Egyptian explorer archaeology dream. And he's clearly intellectually up to the task. I wish he was a little bit more capable. So if we're going with mummy references, he is Evie, but just less capable.
No, he's Jonathan.
What? Jonathan
He's a
was
little
super
smarter than
capable.
Jonathan.
Jonathan's not super capable. He was always getting in trouble.
Okay, in the
I'm
first,
sorry, the brother. The brother.
yeah, Jonathan. In the first one, in
Okay.
the second one, he somehow is like snap, crack, rifle shot who can
That's
drop
true.
like
That's
a
right. He's
tiny mummy
he's a good
dude.
shot in the second one. Yes, that's
Yeah,
right.
he drops a tiny mummy dude at like 1,000 paces or
Yeah.
whatever.
Mhm.
But yeah, so like I think he's less capable Evie. I mean, maybe Jonathan. He's just like one of those characters, but less than. Do you know what I mean? Like he's less capable than Evie is from the Mummy, but he's like a little bit smarter than Jonathan, but not as smart.
See, they
Not
could
as
have a
physically
trio here.
capable either.
They could have Mark is Rick O'Connell. You have Layla is Eve Evelyn from the second one.
Where she is
Because
also more capable.
right. She's got the archaeological knowledge and stuff like that, the history and all that.
And then she's suddenly like possessed by
Yeah, she
She
has
doesn't
her
have
Egyptian
a
like
sexy
princess.
British accent.
yeah. And then you
Yeah.
have Jonathan, who's like the comedic bumbling relief. So he could be the
Sure.
person that's like we're
All
experiencing
right.
the joy and wonder through or whatever. That's
I
why
get
that
you. I like your cast of characters better.
works.
You made a
We're
better
looking
analogy
at
than I
one
did.
person. So
I I don't know why. I was also taken aback on that scene where he's like, "We're in the tomb of Alexander the Great," and I'm like,
No, you're not.
"What? No,
yeah.
you're not."
Yeah.
It's like, where is this
Chris
going?
was
and why is
also
this-
like commenting. He's like, cool. So you just like brought his tomb over from, I think he said India is where it actually is. But yeah, Chris was not buying what the show was selling.
No. Well, for me, it was I didn't even know, like, 'cause I have no I'm gonna preface this, no historical knowledge of
Sure.
how Alexander the Great died, where
N-
he died,
I
anything.
got nothing either.
And so when I showed that, I'm like, what shocked me, I'm like, you're gonna really? That's who you're gonna go with? That's the big sarcasm. That's where they're hiding this idol of Emmett or
Yeah.
Amit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Couldn't pick something else. Couldn't pick like an actual burial chamber for Amit or something. Like,
Right. Couldn't pick any other like pharaoh, any other like less reaching
yeah.
like
I feel like
using the fame name game to, be like,
And
look,
they-
it's Alexander the Great.
and they go in and it's like this super elaborate maze
That's cool.
of thing, and I was like, that's cool, right? But the one this is not a critique of Moon Knight. This is like a critique of any movie that ever does this. How has nobody found that? Nobody.
Oh
How
yeah,
has
sure.
nobody found this before? You don't think they've dropped like any type of echo echolocation or any type of like subsonic frequency
Sure,
devices
sure.
to map that
Yeah, the
entire
satellite
freaking desert.
photography and stuff. Yeah.
Sure, I get you.
It's like in the movie Contact, right? And it's like they have one machine that they want to go and visit, and then it blows up, and they have another identical machine on another part of no. This is like that destroys that what was it disillusion for me. I'm like, okay,
Hmm.
all right, it's just a tomb in a rock somewhere.
Yeah, I feel like for Alexander the Great, that would need to be a build. Like you're looking for that now. You find out that for some
Mhm,
reason is where it would be, and so now you're on the hunt for that. Versus
mhm,
just like
That
you
would have
happen to enter a tomb and you happen to find out it's Alexander the Great.
mhm,
That's a little like that's a little
been
weird.
the
mhm.
greatest archaeological find
Yeah,
of the 21st century, and you stumble upon it, and
Right,
nobody gives a crap.
right.
yeah. But yes, the kind of scary scene and stuff was cool.
Yes.
The other thing that again, me not knowing, me being very normie on Moon Knight, I did write down because I'm like, I heard that this Layla is completely made up for the show.
Oh, okay.
And I thought there must be someone like who hangs around Moon Knight. So I was looking it up as a normie does. And there's actually a character named Marlene Halloran. I should have pronounced
Okay.
the last name. She's basically Layla. She has an archaeological father
Mhm,
that like was, there digging stuff up. She is a like very capable kind of spy person, archaeologist with like hand-to-hand combat skills and stuff like that. It's
mhm.
like, why wouldn't you just take this character? I didn't understand at all. Like I
Sure.
guess she's very blonde, you know.
Mhm,
But they'd have no issue just changing people around like that. So it was very weird to me how you just copy this character from the comics that
mhm,
is that sometimes love interest of Moon Knight in the comics as well, and just
mhm.
gets too like messed up by dealing with the multiple personalities. I mean, it's the character.
Interesting.
Again, it shows is no respect for the source. Like they just don't care. Like, why wouldn't you do this? Anyone that's read this line of comics would be like, this
Mhm.
is that character. Clearly. Why didn't you just make her that and like stick a little more to what she is?
Oh my god. I'm sorry. I'm, like, totally reading this character's backstory now, and I'm, like, freaking out because she has ties to Morpheus. So, like,
Hmm.
there's a whole, like, interconnected thing that could be happening here. Do you know
Well, I
what I
don't think
mean?
anyone
Like, it could
wants
be,
to
like, a
connect to Morpheus
whole
right now. I don't
I
know.
know, I
Like,
know, I know, I know.
yeah. No, I mean, it's very odd. Why invent a completely new character? Like that's the stuff that always bothers me the most in adaptations of comics or of Star Wars or something like that. It's like, why would you just invent a brand new character when you had a perfectly good one right there
Sure.
to use? I did,
Leaving my mark.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So that was weird for me. Um I'm still really liking the music.
Mhm.
Music's good.
Um
I do like the music.
I do want to say that I think the ending of this episode was on a good track. We had some of the drama between Layla and talking to Ethan Hawke, and then like confronting Steven slash Mark about it some.
Well,
And
like, wrong place, wrong time, girl.
yes, exactly.
Why
You're
did
so
why
she's
does everybody wanna
incompetent
have a
one, and now
conversation
you're
when
not going to
they're
get out of there. Yeah.
yeah, why does everybody wanna have a conversation when they're, like, trapped somewhere? And he very legitimately is like, "Yeah, I would love to tell you about this, but we have to go." Like, he's not just giving you the brush off because, like, you're about to run into an ex-girlfriend and he wants to
Yeah.
leave because awkward. You guys are about to die.
Yeah. Yep.
Like,
They're
I don't
they're
know.
taking they're taking their own lives about as seriously as the showrunners are taking their show. That's what's going on there.
John's not bitter.
Not bitter at all. There's no bitterness. It's all coming from
Aggressively okay.
aggressively okay. But seriously, like I
Yeah.
was very irritated at this moment. Like I am aware, I knew we were leading up to this conversation and that
Mhm.
Mark was going to either have, spoiler alert, killed her father or have been there when her father was killed. Like he obviously knew exactly what happened and didn't want to tell her about it. And
Yep.
great, like we needed to have this conversation. We did not need to have it right now.
Yep.
Not at all. Like as a viewer, I shouldn't be sitting there going like, "Blah!" Like
Mhm.
stop.
Leave!
Like please go. Like even
Yep.
Steven was like, "I'm going to give the body to Mark. Like shit's about to go down."
Mhm.
Even Steven, which I keep rhyming that, was, you know, with all of his I've got muscle memory, I can do this, was just like, "Nope, nope, this is not the time and place for me. Mark's got it." And
No, he
Layla was
doesn't.
just like, "Let's
Yeah.
have a chat."
Mhm.
Nope.
So we get a cool scene then going into like his mind. We're in the like like a
Ah,
ward, you know.
we can't skip over the fact that he gets shot in the chest.
Yeah, right.
Ethan
Gets, you know.
Hawke.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
Which
takes him down.
I'm gonna throw this out here. I'm glad that we got the ending of the episode to be kind of proof that there was more going on. I was actually gonna be pissed if they wrote this off as like the entire everything up to this point was in his mind and
Mm.
like he was actually in a psychiatric ward.
Mm.
Yeah,
I'm like,
I didn't buy that.
I was like that I was gonna be so pissed. I mean, it was
Totally.
cool. It was a cool concept. When they birthed around it, I was like, okay, what are they gonna do with this, right? And I
Yeah.
thought it was kind of cool how they were kind of make it very Shutter Island, like they're trying to make you as the audience be like, whoa, wait,
What a
is
Right.
comparison.
is this what's going on here?
Right. Where they had like a
Like,
drawing of like Conchu, like a patient was drawing like a Birdman, and then like, oh, he has ankle restraints on his wheelchair, just like, you know, he imagined them on his bed. Like,
yup.
totally, I am with you.
And the painting on the wall is the
Yep.
village that he was in Switzerland or in the Alps. Like,
And Dr. Stephen Grant is like a bumbling British archaeologist who's like, oh, never fear. We're
Yep.
going in the heart of the jungle.
And it
Sorry.
was so then it was really cool how they did all that. But I would have
Yep.
been like 100% would have been pissed if they were just
Yeah.
like, yep, and it's all in his head and it's not a real thing. But I agree with John. The ending of the episode where they're
The
both
actual
running
literal final
together.
scene.
Yep, and they open the door and it's just a hippo lady, and she
Who
says,
talks
"Hi."
normally.
Yeah, "Hi," and then
Yeah.
they freak. I'm like, okay, well that was really jarring for
Mm-hmm.
the end of the episode. It did not match.
Yeah.
I mean, that entire from when he gets shot up to that scene had a very unique feeling to it
Yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
tempo.
I took it
And
more serious.
yeah, and then it hit it and it was
Crashed.
done. And I was like, wow, that was
Mm-hmm.
bizarre.
Yep.
Yeah, for me, I actually really love that like Ethan Hawke shot him. So just to
Mhm.
rewind it to that moment just for a second. I love that like Mark was picking up his like golden axe and he's about to do some stuff, do some damage, and Ethan Hawke's like, no, like logic, I'm just gonna shoot you in the chest. I weirdly love that kind of stuff because it's just so real. It's just like half the time nobody ever thinks to like bring a gun to a fight. It's always like crazy weapons and you know, we gotta fight to the death and somebody gets stabbed and whatnot. I love that Ethan Hawke was just like, no, I'm gonna shoot you now. Bye.
Yep.
I love the transition of like falling backwards and then I was like, cool, awesome, we're gonna get something here. I don't know what it is. Did not expect the, you know, he's locked up in a mental institution angle. Was totally buying it, like this is really interesting. You know, I don't know where they're going with this. They're making it very real, and then suddenly it wasn't real
Yep.
because no real institution would have like, you know, Egyptian like statuary and like canopic jars in the psychiatrist's office. There was too much like weird stuff, like everything was decorated really weird. Everything was white. Yeah, I was just like, okay, so this also isn't real. Interesting. And then it was cool. Like I knew the second that Mark opened up that door and like there was somebody locked in the sarcophagus, I was like, that's gonna be Steven. They're gonna meet and it's gonna be crazy. And it was awesome. And then you're right, the whole thing was just like ballooning up into something that felt like significant and interesting. And then Hippo Lady walked in and just pop.
Yep.
What is this?
Yep.
Why
And not a
does she
joke.
look like that? Yeah, why does she look like this? Why is she talking normally? At least like give her like a boomy, thundery, like I'm a god voice. Then I would have been
Right.
like,
Or
okay.
just not have her say anything. Just literally
Yeah,
just
or not
open the
say
door and have
anything.
it stand there, and they just scream because there's a giant hippo with a headdress standing
Or
there.
like don't even scream. Because that was very like like, I don't know,
Mhm.
like, you know, silly horror movie tropey kind of thing. Like I could have just left it at like open the door, Hippo Lady, bam.
Mhm. Well, and more serious shows will have something like, often when they're representing a deity or god, it's going to be like more as a sign or a symbol. It's not
Sure.
exactly like, bam, there's hippo person. As
Right.
different Egyptian gods that are, they think they're represented by a baboon or and like a bird of some kind or whatever. You could show that bird somewhere, and it's like with the connection, you do it subtly, like, oh, that's that deity. It's sending a message or whatever. But not just like, hey, here's humanoid animal person.
Mhm.
It doesn't always work if you're going for like a serious tone. So you have to be more, I
Mhm.
don't know, nuanced about it.
Yeah. I feel like this episode could have ended in several different fashions that would have been better than the way that it did.
Yeah.
Could have opened a door and not seen what was there, and then Hippo Lady starts the next episode. Hippo Lady doesn't talk, or Hippo Lady has booming god voice because she is one,
Hmm.
as
Yeah.
Alan pointed out in our message thread.
Or we deal with an avatar of hippo god.
Yeah.
So we do something impressive, like to represent that there's this goddess here or whatever, and then it's like we deal with into the human avatar.
Mhm.
And those guys could be cooler too. Like none of the avatars seemed threatening, back to that meeting or whatever with them, and
Mhm.
they never seemed impressive. And these are Egyptian gods. They were
Right.
of the pantheons of gods. Like these are some of the cool ones. They're pretty neat.
The not
And
lame ones.
yeah,
Well,
not
and
lame
we don't
ones.
really get to see them. That's
No.
that's the problem, like, with that whole, like, trial, quote, unquote. We get to see them for, like, all of 5 seconds before Arthur Harrow comes in and is, like, doing his double talk thing, and they're all like, "Cool, bye." And then we
Well,
see them trapping Khonshu, which they're already, like, again, ready at a moment's notice to just do that the second he does something. Like, I thought
mhm,
they all dispersed back to their crazy places. Suddenly, they're just like, "Oh, here we all are again."
yeah.
Sorry, my weird,
Well,
like, logistical side note that I was like, "What?"
and I wouldn't trust them honestly to show all these other gods in the coolest way. You
Mhm.
know, like
What were
I
all the
just
other gods that were trapped away? Because of course he walks in and he's like, walking with the little
yeah. Where's
Khonshu,
Anubis?
Ushabti?
and
Yeah.
he puts it in like the candlelit box or candlelit alcove, where all of a sudden they pan back and there's like 7 other.
I kinda dug that.
I was like,
I mean,
what's
I
going on here?
right, I wanna know who all these other people are, but I kinda dug the, like, this is our prison wall vibe. Could've
Hmm.
been a
Mhm.
little creepier, but I like the idea of it.
Yep.
Yes.
All right. Well, Alan's sharing some different shots from comics and things here.
Oh, yeah. More of our
I love some
Ennead.
of that art. Yeah, it's something. Well, any final thoughts on Moon Knight? We only have 2 episodes left now.
I know, things are progressing quickly, which I appreciate
Yeah.
because I know I talked about in our review of the first 2, I was like, "There's, like, no time to do stuff, like, get moving." So
Mhm.
they are moving, which is good. I just don't know now at the end of this episode what they're moving to.
Yeah.
Well, they got 2 hours. Remember, these are hour-long episodes. So they got 2 hours to do something with. That's
Yep.
the length of a feature film.
I mean,
Yeah.
I know, but also like they have 2 hours and there's like lots of stuff to just
They have
tie
2 hours
up.
to make me like Moon Knight and care at all. Uh,
John, if
Maybe
they
the
didn't do it
point
in the
isn't
first
though.
4.
yeah.
Remember you said maybe they're deliberately making us like Layla. So maybe the point is you like her more.
So the first introduction of Moon Knight into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, we are just gonna get rid of Moon Knight right away because
Yep.
he sucks.
Oscar Isaac's like, guys, I'm in for this, and then I'm out.
Yeah, then
So
I'm out. Yep.
Hey,
Mhm.
they
I'm not
introduced
signing
the
one of your
Eternals.
12-year deals. F that.
They did the same thing with the Eternals. They introduced the Eternals, and I hate all of them, and they aren't gonna make another Eternals movie.
Oh, I haven't seen Eternals. Don't spoil Eternals for me. I mean,
Oh, spoiler alert, it's bad.
that's I can take that general feedback, but yeah, no, I definitely do want to see Eternals. Just
Well, I mean, it's worth watching once, but
I
it's
feel like I need
definitely
to see it to see it. Do you know what I mean? Like
you do.
I need to just have watched it.
Yeah. It's you will get the sense of why do I care about any of these characters?
Okay.
Kind of like how
That's too
John
bad because I
feels
like
all the
a lot of
time.
the actors that are in it.
The actors are phenomenal. I mean, they're
Mm.
all great actors. That's what's so weird about it. I'm like, why is this movie feel so weird? You know what it is? The best way I can describe it is
Okay.
there are parts of that movie that are definitely missing that got cut on the editing room
Mm,
floor that should not have been cut
sure.
because I feel like there is story being told that we didn't see.
Sure. Maybe we need to do a release the Snyder cut on Eternals.
I was gonna say that to John. What they're gonna the Flash is they're gonna have to nix the Flash or redo the Flash, and then 5 years from now they're gonna have the Snyder cut, the Flash.
Oh my god. I mean, I wouldn't put it past. Anything's possible.
Yep.
There you go.
Anything's possible. What